All right, good evening, and welcome to the school committee meeting for Tuesday, June 21st. Will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Brate?
Here.
Ms. Boyd?
Here.
Mr. Greer?
Here.
Ms. Stetson?
Here.
Mr. Costello?
Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? How's everybody doing tonight? Good, awesome. This is one of my most favorite nights that things we get to celebrate is seeing all of our teachers here that are unfortunately leaving us. I know it's happy and sad at the same time. Sad for us, excited for you guys. I have a sheet here that was printed out really, really small, so I can't read it, but I'm hoping that my friend, Mr. Granatino over here, will be able to help me out. Congratulations to all of you. We have a little, what do I call it, a ceremony? I guess it is. A little ceremony here to recognize all of you and your hard work. I think, was it 718 hours? I did see that. Combined.
781.
Oh, okay. 781, excuse me.
Yes.
Hours. That's how long I've been awake today.
It's been a long year. It's been a very long year.
Yeah. I'm okay, I promise. Awesome. All right, well, let's get started here.
All right. Can everyone hear me okay? We have a new little sound system here that's hopefully going to be better than what we had before. This is a great night. This is one of my favorite spotlights on excellence. And after a year like we've all had, this is a real nice way to wrap things up. We have some special people here, as Ms. Braid alluded to, 36 total retirees from all walks of life amongst our 7 schools and central administration office, and 781 years of experience. I mean, that's a lot. We haven't had that many people. I think that might be the largest number. We had a pretty good sized number last year, but this one, I think, tops that. And we just want to be able to recognize and honor some of those that have given the better part of their lives to the students and to the families of Marshfield. They're very, very special. There are 36 total individuals, and I believe tonight we have 16 of them, and I'm hopefully we don't miss someone, but we got pretty confirmed RSVPs on who was going to be here. So I know that there are a few principals here. I see Ms. Hubbard, I see Ms. Baird, I see Ms. Kemet, I see Ms. McNeil. So how we're going to do this, because it can get very crowded and kind of take a lot of time, I'm going to call up the name. I'm going to read, I'm going to say the name, read a little blurb that was written by their principal and or director, and then have you come up, and the school committee can stand up here, and they'll shake your hand, and you'll get your parting gift. And if the principals, when I get to those schools, so I'm going to do them in school order, so the principal can stand up there with them as well. So I'll do like the GWS retirees, the Amesway retirees. I know I couldn't get everybody here for a few conflicts, but let's try to do it that way. All right? So we'll start, since this is the first person that is here, we'll start with our DWS folks. So Ms. McNeil, if you want to come up and join the members. And do you want to help hand them the bowls there, Ms. Pazerski? We're going to start with Sheila Scherstedt, who is our cafeteria manager, 32 years of service to the students at the DWS and to the district. After 32 years of service, Sheila has decided to hang up her apron and retire. She has dutifully filled the bellies of generations of Marshfield students. I haven't read this, by the way, so if I guffaw a little bit, it's because I like the humor. She worked at Amesway and South River before she found a permanent home at the Daniel Webster, where she has been for the last 22 years. Sheila has been a warm, smiling face students have grown to know. They can rely on to serve them delicious meals. We are extremely sad to see her go, but we're excited to wish her well in her retirement. Sheila Scherstedt, come on down. And we're going to do a group photo at the end with everybody, okay, rather than the individual photos. All right? So all the retirees will be able to come on up with the school committee members and the principals. Next up, we have Ms. Mary Gentili, who's going to also be retiring from the Daniel Webster School after 19 years as a classroom teacher. After 19 years of teaching, Mary has decided to retire. Throughout her years of service, Mary was a special education tutor and a teacher in the 2nd, 4th, and 5th grade at the Daniel Webster School. Mary is known to be a hardworking and caring educator. She loved all of her students, and when they returned to school as seniors, she remembered all of her students' names because she saved all of the class pictures. Wow. We want to wish Mary a wonderful retirement filled with many golf outings and time with her grandchildren. Mary, come on down. Next up, we have Denise Cassidy. After 19 years of service, Denise has decided to retire. Denise was a caring and hardworking ESP at the Daniel Webster School. She often called DWS her family and truly loved working with the students and staff. Denise loved coming to school each day to help students improve in all areas. As a resident and dedicated member of the community, Denise took great pride in her work, and she will be missed. Come on down, Denise Cassidy. And I believe that is it for the Daniel Webster retirees. Yay. We're going to move on to the Furnace Brook Middle School. Okay, so if you want to come up, Principal Kamek. And first up on our list of FBMS retirees is Ms. Mary Ann Cohen. Ms. Mary Ann Cohen will be retiring after 28 years as an English teacher at both the high school and FBMS. She has helped so many Marshfield students improve their reading and writing skills and helped instill a love of reading and poetry in many young lives. We wish her much happiness in her retirement. Ms. Mary Ann Cohen. Next up, also from the English department, is Ms. Sharon Kaplowitz. Mrs. Sharon Kaplowitz will be retiring from the Furnace Brook Middle School after 21 years as an English teacher. Her love of literature, theater, writing has impacted hundreds of students, and they were also thankful that she was their teacher. We will miss her bright personality, but wish her the very best in her retirement. Ms. Sharon Kaplowitz. This person gets to kind of be doubly recognized because she retired towards the end of last year, but there was still some time involved. She actually had some celebrations last year, but her retirement started in the about halfway through the year. I can't even remember the date now, but it was a sad day. It was a sad day at the FMS. But Ms. Sandra Denty retired as a science teacher for Furnace Brook Middle School after 25 years of teaching this past November. Ms. Denty's infectious and caring personality has positively impacted hundreds of students and staff in her years at the FBMS. We wish Mrs. Denty well in her retirement. Ms. Sandy Denty. I believe that is it for the Furnace Brook Middle School retirees that are present. Oh, Meg, I'm sorry. I don't have her hand, I'm sorry. Meg, my apologies. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies, I went right past it. All right, Ms. Megan Cullen, one of our academic tutors. Ms. Megan Cullen will be retiring after 15 years as an academic tutor at Furnace Brook Middle School. She has positively impacted many students, helping them be better readers and writers. She has been a huge asset to teachers and leaders. We wish her a wonderful and well-earned retirement. Ms. Megan Cullen, come on down. All right, now I think we're done with the FDM. All right. Why don't we have Principal Hubbard come on up and we'll read through our Governor Winslow retirements. And first up is Ms. Karen Antos. Mrs. Karen Antos will be retiring after 12 years of serving as an elementary teacher in Marshfield, and she will be truly missed. Karen works extremely hard and adds a fine sense of humor to teaching and learning that keeps us all smiling at Governor Winslow. She is the first to arrive and last to leave school as she prepares to meet the needs of her students. It is with great love and respect that we thank you, Mrs. Antos, and wish you much happiness in your retirement. Ms. Karen Antos.
She's my son's teacher.
Oh.
I love all parents.
Next up, we have Mrs. Deborah Waldron Foltz. Ms. Debbie Foltz will be retiring after 17 years of serving as an elementary educator in Marshfield, and she will be greatly missed. From first grade to fourth, Debbie brought her teaching talents, creative crafts, and magical music wherever she was asked to meet the needs of students at Governor Winslow. It is with a heavy heart that we thank you, Mrs. Foltz, and wish you a wonderful retirement. Okay. Next up, we have Miss Ann Kelton. Mrs. Ann Kelton retired at the beginning of the school year after serving as a music educator for 17 years in Marshfield. A talented musician who played multiple instruments, Ann shared her love of music with her students and our whole Governor Winslow school community. She was the anchor of our grade level performances, and she was really missed this year. We thank you, Mrs. Kelton, and we hope your retirement is filled with sweet music. And I will add, Mrs. Kelton helped me out as a principal. How long ago was that now? You and your husband down at Bridgewater? We had 2004, I believe it was, my first year as a principal at Bridgewater Raynham High School, and we had slashed our budget by 25%, lost dozens and dozens of teachers, and had no music program to start the school year. And Ms. Kelton and her husband stepped up and helped provide volunteer time to ensure that our students were able to get some musical exposure, even though they were working elsewhere. So that was my first time meeting her, and then on my very first day of actually interviewing for the position here, I actually danced in her class with some, I think it was with Mrs. Hubbard, when she was playing some music with the kids. So that was my first kind of introduction to the family life here at Marshfield Public Schools. So come on down, Mrs. Kelton. So I don't think we have anybody from South River School, and we have our Ames Way folks. Our principal and assistant principal couldn't be here tonight due to some conflicts, but we have some wonderful retirees there, and I'm going to start with Ms. Nancy Carey. After 23 years of teaching, Ms. Nancy Carey will be retiring from Ames Way School. Nancy taught several grades at Ames Way as part of our bump class due to 2 extremely large classes, teaching first, second, third, and back again. And all of those changes, Nancy was able to work with wonderful colleagues until she finally landed in grade 2. We all wish Nancy a wonderful retirement, spending time with friends, family, and grandchild. Ms. Nancy Carey. Next up, we have Mrs. Susan Fantasia, our school nurse from the Ames Way School. After 13 years as the Ames Way nurse, Susan will be retiring from the Ames Way School. Susan has always been the one everyone counted on to keep us healthy, and I could not imagine her not at the helm of our clinic during these past 3 school years. We are so sad to see her leave EWS, and we all wish Susan a wonderful retirement, spending time with her friends, family, and grandchildren. Come on down, Ms. Fantasia. And I don't believe Principal Cuther is here. I know there's a school council meeting going on at the high school, so we don't have those folks here. But we have two retirees from the high school that are present, and we have Mrs. Teresa Wyand, who is retiring after 21 years as being a special education teacher. Teresa was the consummate professional, developing strong relationships with the students on her caseload and then assisting them in developing the skills necessary to effectively manage their disabilities. A strong advocate for inclusion and transition, Teresa was essential in developing and implementing our transition practices at the high school. Our practices are always focused on the needs of the student and have paved the way for significant post-MHS accomplishments for our students. Mrs. Wayne, come on down. Did Ms. Callahan sneak in? Did I miss her? No, Michelle Callahan? Okay, we must have had a conflict that came up. So I'm going to pass over that, and I'll read the names of the folks that couldn't be here at the end. There are 2 people here that have been working all over the district, so there's really not one person who oversaw them, and I don't think there could ever be one person that could oversee these 2 folks. So I'm going to start first with Ms. Mary Bradshaw. Ms. Mary Bradshaw has been our English language learner teacher in the district for 11 years. Mary joined our team 11 years ago and has left a significant imprint on the fabric of our school system. She started as an ELL teacher at MHS and has expanded her sphere of influence to include K-12 registration, teaching, and learning. Her care, compassion, and understanding of our students transitioning to our country has established a foundation for ELL instruction in Marshfield. That's what's written. I will just simply add, she is a dynamo that just works on the whatever the Everlast Bunny battery commercial. She's everywhere, and she holds those kids to such a high level of expectations. Those that have come, some brand new to the country, but she does it in a compassionate way where they truly love her for what she does for them, what she does for their families. And when I got here, I believe we had the equivalent of about 1.4, 1.6 ELL staff, and in 7 years we're leaving with the increase of EL students in the district, leaving with now 10 educators and support staff working with our EL students, mainly due to the hard work and dedication of Mary and the advocacy that she has for those students. And what we're able to do for them compared to what was in place years ago is just remarkable. So she's going to be sadly missed. Ms. Mary Bradshaw. And the last person, I believe that is here, I hope I'm not missing anybody, is Ms. Jane Landry, our school nurse director. And it's kind of funny, there's all these blurbs written here from all the different people, and the one blurb that's empty is hers, because I guess I was supposed to have written it, and I didn't. So I'll just kind of wing it. And it's appropriate that way, because we've kind of winged it a lot over the last couple of years. And Jane is fantastic. 24 years working first as a nurse, and then over the last, is it 6 years or 5 years as nurse director? 6 years as nurse director. The first 3 years I barely saw her, didn't really know who she was that much, and then the last 3 years it's been a little different. We've been trying to know each other very, very well. No, I knew Jane very well, but just a fantastic person first and foremost, outside of what she does for the students and staff and families of Marshfield. But Given the obstacles that have been put in place for everybody, across the country over the last 3 years, Jane has risen to every single challenge that was out there. I do not know how I would have gotten through what we've had to deal with over the last couple of years with COVID without her. And she's not always the most popular person because she has to give news sometimes that didn't make people happy. But she was consistent, she was fair, she was dedicated to the well-being of all of our students and staff and families, and would never do something that she felt put anybody in any type of risk. And that's what you want in that type of person. And beyond that, just the compassion and the love that she really does have for the kids, and you see it. And you have to have that compassion and that love, or else you really wouldn't want to be doing some of the stuff that she had to be doing over the last 3 years. I can never thank her enough, and the district was in great hands during one of the most trying times of our history, and I'm just glad you were by our side, and you're going to be sorely, sorely missed. And if you want to, turn back on your retirement, you have my permission. But I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Ms. Jane Landry, come on down. All right, now, if this isn't too much of a challenge, we have all of those retirees pop back on up here, and we'll try to take some pictures. If family members want to come up and take pictures, it might be best to kind of stand here, and we'll take pictures. We'll move these chairs out of the way. By height, by age, by hair.
Jeff, why don't you just lay on the floor?
No, that's totally fine. No worries. Ooh, sorry about that.
All right.
We're just going to take a 5-minute recess really quick. What? Oh, sure. Just kidding. Okay. Hold the recess.
So there were a few people that couldn't be here, so I'm just going to read their names. If you can give me 1 second, I'll try to go through this quickly. As I said, we had 36 retirees. 16 could be here and 19 couldn't, so I want to make sure we recognize them as well. We had Miss Deborah Warsh, who worked for the district for 35 years as an early childhood community outreach teacher. Excuse us. We had Ms. Kathleen Carbonara, 26 years of teaching at the Ames Way School. Ms. Diane Pratt, 20 years as an administrative assistant at the middle school. Janine Fleming, 27 years as an FBMS cafeteria worker. Jean Giaquinto, 28 years as a cafeteria worker at the middle school. Lori Karras, 21 years working at the middle school's cafeteria. And Patricia McFarland, 24 years at the middle school cafeteria. We also have from the middle school Ms. Catherine O'Donnell, who worked with the district for 19 years as a health teacher. At the Governor Winslow School as an ESB in the kindergarten class, we had Ms. Rosemary Vaughn, 16 years of service. We had Jane Murray, 19 years at the Martinson Elementary School as an SESP, special education support staff member of the preschool. Nancy McClellan at the high school, 31 years as an English teacher, just a fantastic teacher who impacted many, many students. We also had Ms. Jan LaFerry, who retired earlier in the year as the full-year administrative assistant at the high school, working for Principal Kuther. We had Ms. Gail Citron, worked as a science teacher in the high school for 17 years, who's retiring this year. And we had Ms. Mary Nista, 15 years as an MPSD van driver. In addition, we had Ms. Sarah Coffey, who worked at the South River School behind us as a kindergarten teacher for 27 years. Just a few more. We had Ms. Cheryl Crowley, who worked as an ESP and a special education department at the Daniel Webster School for 15 years. We had Kelly Russell, who also worked at the Daniel Webster School for 14 years as an SESP in the preschool. Ms. Linda Gallagher worked for 29 years in the cafeteria at the middle school. And we had Ms. Joanne Crooker, who worked for 23 years as a social studies teacher at the middle school. And finally, we had Mr. Charlie Fletcher. If you've been to any event at the high school over the last 38 years, you ran into Charlie. He was everywhere. And he was the senior custodian who really took great pride in that school, and especially when the new school opened up. And he will be sorely, sorely missed. He was actually going to wrap up things earlier in the year, and we begged, borrowed, and pled for him to stay on until the end of the school year, and he did. And I think it was about 2 seconds after graduation, and his keys and everything was turned in. He didn't wait too long. But we want to thank all of them, those that could be here and those that couldn't be here, for just wonderful service to the Marshfield Public Schools. So thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. We will take a quick recess. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on here. All right, so let's go over to the informational here. Superintendent Granatino.
Just be very brief. As we wind down the year, it was great to see so many of the end of the year celebrations at the elementaries, the fifth grade move-ups. Each school just did fantastic jobs. And along with that, besides the students, I think the parents had as much fun and were probably a lot more emotional than the kids were. The kids were screaming with joy, and the parents were screaming in tears. But it was really touching to see so many. And every school did it differently. Every school did it differently, but it was really special, and it was tuned into the culture and the climate of each of those schools. So that was very nice. And then it was just a lot of musical programs towards the end of the year, and the art shows, and we had the awards nights at the middle school and their 8th grade night. It's a fun time of the year, and it's why we do what we do, to celebrate these kids and their successes and their transition throughout the district. Excited to hear about a new program that we might be able to offer our students. Actually, Ms. Brait was instrumental in bringing in a group called School on Wheels. They provide free tutoring services for students everywhere from, I think, New Bedford on up to Boston. They said they hit dozens of districts, and they just set up shop. They don't set up in a school, but they'll find a space in town and work to help those students that could be new to the country, could be having financial challenges, but they provide them with a couple of hours of tutoring during the week. And so we're starting to work with them, find out how best to identify students that might be able to benefit from these services. But anyone that wants to come in here and help our students in any shape or form, especially those that are financially challenged, it's just a great way to keep them moving, especially in the summer, where you might see some summer slide in school, and they want to set up shop here. They haven't made a location yet. We've had a number of our students who were deemed homeless have used their services over in Norwell in the past. Some of them are now in Norwell schools, having been here first, but Norwell has a location, Rockland has a shop, I think Pembroke does as well, but they want to find some space here in Marshfield, and we're excited to have them set up, and we'll make sure that we get out the word to those students that will benefit from this service. And then finally, just a quick thank you to everybody. This is the end of a very long year. It's a long year for the parents, it's a long year for the students, for the staff, for the committee.
781 years.
Hours, right?
Hours.
And it's a year like no other, and we thought we said that last year, and we thought that might be the end of it, and this year probably was a little bit more challenging for a variety of different reasons, and I'm not going to go into everything and rehash everything, but we learned how to move this district forward in a different fashion than we've ever had to do in the past, and it wasn't always perfect, but it was done with care. It was done with compassion and attention to the needs of the students as best we could. And again, we didn't have everybody in agreement with every step that we took, but we worked as a district as hard as we could for our students, for their families, and I think we made great progress, and I'm really, really proud of our students first and foremost. They were the ones that had to carry the burden of all of these changes that were going on, and they did it, with grace, and they continued to work hard in the school, they worked hard in the field, they worked hard on stage, whatever they might be doing, and I can't thank them enough. And the parents who were patient and worked with us, and again, didn't always agree, but knew what we were trying to do was in the best interest of students, and continued to support not only us, but support their students, which is their most important job. And to our staff and to the school committee, I can't thank you enough. This was, again, something that none of us could ever imagine, and there's no game plan for it. We created some on the fly, like every other district, and I think ours worked, but it wasn't easy. And I just want to thank you all for making this happen, and I'm really proud of the Marshfield Public Schools for everything that they've done this year. And that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Dr. Martin.
Nothing to report.
All right. Perfect. Mr. Miller.
Same.
All righty. Any subcommittee reports tonight? No. Perfect. It is now time for public participation. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak? Come on up, Mr. Kelly. How are you tonight?
Good, thank you. Hopefully the rest of you doing well as well. I sat here tonight seeing a bunch of staff from the school retire, and I had a debate with myself in regards to whether I clap for them or withhold it, and I chose to withhold it because the last couple of years, my children, a lot of parents' children here went through a lot. And, between the teachers' union, their involvement keeping the schools closed, the educators, school committee members like yourself, the administrators, and the state, what they did to our kids, I couldn't fathom giving a round of applause to anybody for what they did to our children and continue to do. With that said, Mr. Granatino, I'd like to thank you for putting your name to the COVID press release, the last one, June 8th. I have watched I didn't make the last school committee meeting, but I watched it, and there was some questions I think the school committee should have asked in regards to the dyslexia part. And, I don't know if the dyslexia screener is somebody that's already working for the school, or if it's a new hire, and what the cost will be. There's talked about DESE guidelines, what the law that we're going to follow. It was never specified what the law is, chapter and section. The other thing is that there's a lot of components that seem to be with this, and my concern is that all the components that were shown, these components going to unnecessarily add more students to the dyslexia group. And the other thing is, too, is what I've seen over when these presentations are brought in, funding needed or whatever, I never see a demonstration in regards to what it is that they're doing. They don't show it, they show nice things on the screen and all that, but there's nothing hands-on. There's no demonstration for us parents to get an idea what it's all about. And then moving on to the Bridges program, I was a little concerned in regards to the video of the kids and how they're being used to advertise this product. And I'm wondering if the parents knew how the children were being portrayed in this, if there's any waivers or anything like that were put out to them. It was brought up that the scores flatlined in Marshfield. I take it in math, and there's nothing brought up, no information brought up in regards to showing what the scores were in the past or anything like that, and what they are now. Why is that? Is this a teacher issue in everything regards to the matter? Do we really need another expensive program? I mean, what have we been doing the last how many years that the education's been going on teaching math? I find it, we keep adding on these technologies, and it seems that the budget keeps growing. and growing. And one thing is that all these technologies that we're at, and like I said, there's no demonstrations on it. I don't even know if you need it as a parent standing on the outside. There's no showing of pass scores in Marshfield or an average. No showing of grades before and after bridges. I guess this program's been already in place in certain areas. And like I said, once again, there's no demonstration to show what it's all about. So just to pass it on to the school committee in case, well, I'm sure there'll be plenty of more of these technological programs coming up that maybe you want to get more little in-depth in the information and trying to pass it out to the parents in regards to what we're pushing on to our kids so we can have a better idea and all that. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just do me a favor and state your name and address for the
Oh, sorry
video?
about that. Eric Kelly, Peterson Path.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the MEA update. Do you have anything tonight, Mrs. Marples? How are you tonight?
Thank you yourself.
Very good, thank you.
Not that anybody's counting days. Sarah Marples, President of the Marshfield Education Association. First of all, I would like to thank the school committee for the recognition of the many years of talent, of service, and tremendous dedication for the staff, teachers, and from our bus drivers to our CAF ladies, to our ESPs, our tutors, and our teachers, and our secretaries. God, if I forget the secretaries, they'll never call me again or forward a call. One of the fascinating things about being an educator is over the years I've learned that it takes each and every one of us to provide the kind of education our students deserve. And sometimes under extremely difficult circumstances, even in a good year, we are always doing our best to help those students who need our help and those students who have the ability to fly on their own, to give them those wings. So at the end of another school year, which everybody was hoping was going to be absolutely perfect, and we all discovered that we were still struggling with the after effects of a lot of disruption in everybody's lives, whether it was in the workplace, at home, or in our schools. And I want to thank the school committee for their intelligent and dedicated efforts to keep our students safe, to keep our staff safe, and to do the best they can for everybody involved in education in the town of Marshfield. I also want to say that we are all looking forward to an extremely exciting, challenging, changing year. We hope we're all going to get back to normal. And as I know, after 33 years as a teacher, actually I first went into teaching in 1971. Yes, I know. That means there's nobody in this room who was alive then, let alone teaching. You were alive? Oh, at least I have some live bodies. But one of the things that I have discovered over the years, many, many years of my own growth as an educator and my children being in school, and now my grandchildren being in school, is that we are always learning, both as educators and as human beings. And as science has made great leap forward, we have, as educators, taken that information, that knowledge, and tried to convert it into providing a better and a more pointed education for our students. A very brief example, I had a brother who had dyslexia, who was never diagnosed because in the 1960s there was no diagnosis, who spent a lot of his time in an elementary school being called lazy, not working hard enough, not doing what he should. Moving on, now you have dyslexia. All of a sudden we realize there's all these other things that were ascribed to a child's inability to concentrate or do what they were expected to do. And thank God with science, we're now finding tools and ways to help those students achieve all that's in them. We might not always understand how it works, but we keep striving to do the best we can. And that's what we have done this year, and that's what we will do going forward. We've lost a lot of great people this year to retirement, but I know we'll get a lot of great people back into the trenches next year, and we'll continue to do what we have to do for the students of Marshfield. And thank you for supporting us and being there to back us up and giving us the resources we need. Have a wonderful summer, everybody, and stay healthy and happy and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. I'm going to move the minutes to the end of the meeting for you guys. Let's move to our Furnace-Brook Middle School One Book, One School. Okay,
There
great.
you go. So as you all know, just for point of reference, this is the annual program. This is now year number 8? 10. I apologize. Where they select books for the students, or books to read during the summer as a community. They invite parents to read these books. They invite other staff members, school committee members to read these as well. Not a mandatory effort, but it's one that's embraced by the entire school, and we have some time at the beginning of the school year where there are typically projects or events that are tied to the themes of the book. And this year, it's a little different in that it's not just one book, but folks are going to have some options this year. So our team from the FBS is here to introduce it as they typically do this time of the year and show us what they're going to be presenting next year, or this summer.
I have to stop you just for 1 second. I need to run outside to my car just really quick to get something for one of my children. I'm not going to miss your presentation. I'm going to be right back. I am so sorry that I have to do that.
So we're going to take one
We're going to do introduction.
30-second break here. Time.
All right, I'll wait. Don't worry about it, Mrs. Brate, you're all set. Stop talking, I'm going to do presentations.
I read your email to fifth grade parents that talks about the books.
See, the
Plural.
books.
Charlotte's very excited to get to pick it.
Sorry, my book is not here.
I know, I read it on
Did you get the Google Slides?
I did. She was already watching it. I was like, watch this.
So she logged in under her MPSD account,
Well,
just like,
I logged in. Yeah, we figured it out. We're learning. Yeah, we're learning.
everyone's learning. It's okay, that's what we're here for.
She wants to pick 2.
That's why I said
instead of 1. I was like, read all of
You'll hear.
So,
You'll hear, might be a little incentive. I'll just keep on talking. Miss Superintendent Granatino took a little of our thunder talking about our presentation. Not much, I'm joking.
sorry about this.
No, you're going to hear about that. So you're going to regret that statement right there in just a few minutes.
you have any recommendations?
He's saying because of the expense of the hardcover.
I know.
It's the most quiet this room has ever been. I think everyone's just tired.
I'll forget most of that. I'll try to add if you want to go. It's okay.
Ooh, that was on already.
No, but he'll follow along. Go? Is that what that means? Just go like this. Oh, gotcha. I'm like, what is that? What is he telling me to go? Well, welcome. I am Maureen Cameron. I'm the very, very proud principal of Furnace-Brook Middle School. I'm here with 2 members of our literacy committee. Not everyone could make it this year, but Mrs. Lynch, who has been an integral part of the One Book, One School for the 10 years we've had it, and Mrs. Elizabeth Zimmer, who's been a very, very active participant with us, and I think has read all of the books. I'm just going to say, I've only read some, but I told the superintendent I have my homework for the summer. So we're excited to bring you this presentation about the One Book, One School a little early. So this is a little early for us, but when we were talking about it with Dr. Martin and the superintendent Granatino, we decided to bring it to you a little earlier to explain why. So our theme is exactly as you see, which is differences make us stronger. Go ahead. So we are in our 10th year, believe it or not, of this program, which started as a little bit of a out-of-the-box initiative that Rachel Xavier, myself, and Pat Sullivan brought to Furnace Brook, and it's become a very, very important part of who we are and building community, and also always, always focused on literacy. So what is One Book, One School? I'm not going to read you this whole theme. We talk about this every year, but it is our summer reading. There's no tests, there's no quizzes, there's no writing assignments, but it's an opportunity for all of the school members to read a book with a unifying theme. It generates discussion. We'll have a date, usually mid-September, where we focus all of our interdisciplinary instruction and things on that book. It's been a little different because everything's been a little different over the past 2+ years with COVID. So we continue to try to connect it to what we're doing and really mostly bring community and culture into our building. So, go ahead. So this year, so why did we choose 4 books? There was, I think, the 3 of us, Mrs. Alberico and Mrs. DeLuca, who've been pretty much most of the literacy committee this year. It's been harder to get volunteers to do that. And as we started to talk about books, they read more books than I do, true confessions, but lots and lots and lots of books. We've had lots and lots and lots of discussions. The threshold to choose a book is much harder than people think. But we always look for what's going to be relevant to our kids, you know, at their reading level or maybe extended a little bit. But we'll talk about themes. So I threw out a crazy idea, maybe January. I said, all right, we're doing a lot of talk about universal design for learning with our teachers. We've had a lot of PD, allowing more student choice. One thing I've heard, this is going into my 13th year here in Marshfield, is students always don't have as much choice as they would like in different things. They can choose music, they can choose world language. Not always a lot of choice. And student agency has been so apparent over the past 2.5, 3 years, and of student interest in what they like to do. So we talked a lot about UDL and what we're asking our teachers to do for our students. And then we're talking about what's going on in our middle school. So middle school's not, I love it. People think I'm crazy working in middle school. I can't imagine working anywhere else. But not all students can recognize and accept differences. Sometimes they struggle with it. And quite honestly, we've talked about some of the struggles we've had with students and how can we best meet those needs and educate them. Because sometimes they need very implicit instructions or directions or conversations about some difficult things. Because we really want to make sure everyone is celebrated and we have a warm, welcoming community. So then we start to talk about options for students. We also need to make sure we're meeting the reading needs of all of our students. So the 4 books, you only see 3 in front of you, they really range from, I think, about age grade level, high 3rd grade to 9th grade. And that's not all very targeted, but that's that range. So we can meet the needs of different reading levels. But we also did a lot of stuff on cultural proficiency, on equity and diversity and inclusion. And so as we talked about just selecting 1 book and we couldn't choose a topic, we threw out the crazy idea of what if we have 1 theme and 1 school? So that's the direction we're going in this year. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry, I probably missed some of the stuff, but we want to make sure all of our students see something in them represented in the materials. If it's not at all relevant to them, they're going to have a hard time reading that book. So we talked about different things, and there's so many different characters and plots and themes in these books that everybody can find something that's meaningful to them in these books. And talks about different type of inclusion, and truly does focus on why differences do make us stronger. And I think with what we've seen, particularly over the past year, our students are ready for that, and we're ready to have these conversations with them. So our student body is becoming more and more diverse. We just celebrated Mary Bradshaw and the incredible growth we've had with our EL students and their progress, which is beautiful and amazing. But that's just one of the type of differences we see. So these are just some of the books we've had throughout the year. They're different reading levels, different topics, fiction, nonfiction. And I'm proud of every single one, but we're modeling what we're asking our students to do and offering choice to students. So you're going to hear about the choices from both Elizabeth and Lisa. I don't know who's next. Oh.
Let's see. Too loud. Okay. So Mrs. Zimmer and I just want to give you a very brief overview of the 4 books that we've chosen. And Mrs. Kemet just gave a wonderful introduction on why we've chosen the books that we have. Again, we want to come together as a community, and kids in grades 6, 7, and 8 sometimes struggle with differences, and we have to be very specific about making sure that we bring everybody together. So if we look up at the front here, these are the 4 different topics that we have focused on that we see will be really meaningful for our middle school students. We've got acceptance of different religions and linked, and I'll talk about these books in a second. Acceptance of national origin, and diversity. Acceptance of gender orientation and accepting of others in general. And acceptance of different races and ethnicities. And I'd note that for each of the books, in addition to themes, we also try to look for literary elements that will help teach our English and reading objectives as they are aligned to the state frameworks, okay? All right. Okay, so the first book is Linked. The title comes from one of the names of the main character, who's a boy, and his name is Lincoln, short, and people call him Link for short. Basically, in his school, and there are different main characters in elementary school, one day the kids go into school and somebody has painted a large swastika on one of the walls in the building. And the whole school, or the staff within the school, develops a tolerance program. And the kids realize that they need to do something themselves as a community to address what's happening within the school. As you go through the book, some other swastikas appear, and really this is about how kids feel about what they're experiencing, what they're seeing, discussions about religion, and also kind of at the middle school level, because this is a middle school book, talks about how students go about accepting one another, accepting differences, and also getting along with peers when you belong to different groups. This book, our focus mainly was about being able to have an impetus for discussions around different religions and acceptance. And again, this is from a middle school viewpoint. So there's a lot in there about social differences and belonging as well. And again, I'm just kind of skimming over the book. These books are really outstanding, so I encourage you to check them out on Amazon. The next one is about national origin and diversity, and this book actually is recommended for grades 3 through 6, so we will definitely share with the principals some of the reading levels so teachers can kind of help guide students if they're looking for something that's more specific to reading levels. This is about an American Indian female, so young girl as the main character, and she comes into middle school, and she's kind of talking about some of the experiences she's had as a person in elementary school who's been picked on for her ethnicity. Again, this book, through a middle school perspective, talks about the boy who lives next door to her, who is a very well-liked athlete, and the two have never really been friends, but they come together within this book. Again, and this gives us, our teachers, an opportunity to talk about acceptance and how words can be hurtful, and to bring us together as a community. As Mrs. Kemet said, our population is becoming more diverse in multiple ways, and we want to make sure that students recognize those differences and celebrate them. Okay, I'm going to switch spots with Mrs. Zimmer, who's going to talk about the last two.
So this book is probably, I don't have favorites, but I probably have a favorite, and it's that one. This is a close second. It's about a boy. It's unique for us because it has an element of fantasy to it. There's a secret room that appears in a different way to 3 different students. And one of the students is a boy who's gay who moves to the new town. And it's an interesting angle, too, because he's very comfortable in his orientation and with his previous school and like who he is and his family. Everyone's, he's him and he feels good about himself. But the new school he lands in is less welcoming and less receptive. So it's kind of so he makes this kind of joke where he finds himself going into the closet because his room is a closet. I know this is ironic. And then, but there's how he navigates being bullied, and then he goes to adults who are trying to, and asks for help and is immediately shut down, and after that he refuses to kind of seek other ways to help him. But then he bonds with these two other students who are from other parts of the country. One is a non-binary student, and another one is a gay female. And they all have their own difficulties that they're facing in very different school communities in different parts of the country. And it's how they kind of come out and support each other to kind of get to be who they want to be, feel accepted in their communities. And then one of the has like, I actually get teary when I read the author's note, so I'll leave that to you guys if you want to read it, because I really choked up. I'm not dorky. But also the last chapter, it introduces like 3 other students who, because once they have the first group has their issues resolved, like their things they're struggling with, the room disappears. They don't have access to it anymore. And then there's a whole group of 3 other students who's then like, spoiler alert, finding the door and opening it. So it's really a great book, and it's Mark Oshiro is an author who some of the kids there's a whole group of diehard Percy Jackson fans out there. And Rick Riordan has just teamed up with Mark Oshiro to write a spin-off of the Percy Jackson series with 2 of the characters in it. So that book's apparently going to come up in the next year or so. So as soon as we said the title and the author, a bunch of kids went, oh, and the 6th graders. So that was good. And then Colors of the Rain. Colors of the Rain, I'm going to totally set her up on this. Sarah Alberico described as like To Kill a Mockingbird, which I was like, whoa, like the equivalent. It moved her to that extent. And so I went in, it's like when you hear a movie's great and you go in and you're like, you can't possibly live up to the hype. That's where I was coming in with this book. Add to that, it's written in free verse, which is not my jam. But I kind of was like, all right, I'll take it on. And it's beautiful. It's really beautifully written. And it's probably the most complex book we have. It's in terms of high order thinking, and like I had to actually myself reread a couple parts to make sure I understood what was happening. Again, the verse thing. But it's about a boy who, it takes place in 1972 in Texas. Racism was unfortunately alive and well at that time, and he is a white boy whose father was killed, who died in an accident after running away from the police after killing a man in a bar. And they find out subsequently that he was defending his best friend, who was a black man. I'm not sure how to summarize this book. There's so many elements to it, honestly. It's like, it really is. But then, so his mother kind of disintegrates because she's so devastated that this happened. And the school community is really turning against them because, he killed another white man to save a black man. So they end up going to live with their aunt, who is a principal at another school. And then there's and then the boy ends up starting to bully a black child who he feels, there's different elements at it, but partly because the boy has a mother and he no longer has a mother is how he perceives it. But in the end, I'm not going to say it. It doesn't all come out roses, but it definitely, which is good, I think. That doesn't all come out roses because life doesn't. But that's the summary. I'm trying not to talk too much. I always talk the books. I want to rub them. I love it.
And you can tell we're passionate about books, but I think mostly we're passionate about our kids. So I had a little 6th grader with me today. I didn't plan this. Lisa's probably going, what is she going to go? Where's she going with this? I had a little 6th grader who had to spend a little time with the principal because he might have made a bad decision on Friday. And he was talking to me about how much he loves the pizza. Now, if you notice, 5 of my cafeteria workers are retiring, so hopefully the pizza stays good next year. And then he said, Mrs. Kemet, and he mentioned 2 or 3 restaurants, I'm not going to mention them, but he said, sometimes when my mom and I order pizza, we have to wait an hour or 2. And I said, oh, that's interesting. Must be really busy Friday night. I'm thinking some of the local pizza places, I know what they're like. He's like, no, it's because my mom wears a hojjar. I was like, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And then he just talked. He had no idea that in my head I was like going through these books, and he's confused by it, and it was so raw and genuine, and I said, let's talk about that. I said, I have some thoughts about a book you can read. You have to read one anyways. This summer is part of our one book. And sometimes we don't even know exactly what's going on with our kids' lives. And I truly think our differences do make us stronger. So we're asking our teachers to take a little bit of a risk. Do something different. Take one of your traditional assessments. Do it differently. UDL. Let's look at cultural proficiency. So we're modeling that, and that's why we wanted to make sure we presented to you, because it's a little different. So Rich asked about the hardcover books. We're not purchasing 900 and something books of each. We can't do that. We couldn't get them anyways, because if anyone knows, there's a little bit of issue with getting things in time. So we did a little differently, and we're asking the students to choose a book and the families to get that. However, we've embedded ways to help them. Elizabeth was just talking about, Teresa DeLuca was sharing all the different options we have with Overdrive, Audible, different languages. What am I missing? Ebooks. We purchased multiple copies. Students can borrow them. We have an easy way for them to get that, no questions asked. If we have to figure it out, we'll figure it out. I guarantee that. If anyone's met Mrs. DeLuca, Mrs. Zimmer, Mrs. Alberico, or Mrs. Lynch, you'll know we'll take care of that. But
Some of them are translated too.
they are. So we've been working hard on this. Each of the quarters, I think I stole Lisa's show a little bit. Sorry, Lisa. They don't have to read them all. We don't make them read any, but it's something that's really important, and I truly, truly hope, students embrace it. The students, we've had a couple, we try to have some test readers, usually their last name's Zimmer. The feedback's been incredible. So that's part of it. And then, actually, we found out about Count Me In from a parent, a Marshfield parent, who runs the One Book, One School program for her local middle school. And she asked me if we'd ever looked at the book Count Me In, and I'd never heard of it, it wasn't on our list. And she said, I'd love to hear if you're going to do it, because we're going to have the author visit. Of course, anytime you hear that, because we've had such success, we've had a couple authors either Zoom in or come in, and that's been always well received. So I bought the book immediately, read it. Tom's right on it, look at you go. Loved it. I didn't even finish it, and I lent it to Lisa. She didn't finish it, she lent it to Sarah. And so we ended up choosing one of the books. So we, the Furnace Brook PTO has graciously offered to pay for this author visit. We already have a date. They're already on it. And so this is what I started to talk about with Mrs. Campbell, Stetson, that if the students that read all the books, we're going to have a lunch bunch with the author. So we're trying to motivate the kids to do it. They don't have to. But I think some kids would love to read all the books, but they don't have to. Mrs. Lynch, do you want to talk about the rest? We kind of I went out of order. I broke the order. We had it all planned.
Yes, just very quickly. Again, these books give us an opportunity for teachers to have authentic and rich discussions and for us to run some great programs next year. So in August, we always have a student and a parent book talk. So we invite students in on one day to do activities around comprehension and just get them excited about the book, clear up any confusion they might have that has to do with comprehension breakdowns. And then also a different day to have parents come in. We already do activities to really recognize differences and work on acceptance with students in middle school. For example, here's one. We created a chain around the front lobby. Students, and this is, again, student-run, so you can see student at the table there. Students came around, and similar to this book, Linked, where they, the school district tries to get 6 million paper chain links to represent the lives lost in the Holocaust. Students filled out a strip of paper just to state what they would do to try to make Furnace Brook a more accepting place. That's just a simple one. Here are the links. We had about 600 links go around the lobby. And you can see how kids wrote something about what they're going to do just to help us to create a safe and welcoming learning environment. This is also another program that we ran to help students recognize special needs and to eliminate the R word as a slang term that is sometimes used. Again, these type of specific programs and events are things that are really important for us to do with our student body, and we found a lot of meeting with them.
No, that's okay.
About books at first.
Thank you guys very much. Congratulations on 10 years of this program. That's exciting. Yeah, that's great. And I like that you have different choices this year. I think that that's awesome. Does anybody have any comments, questions? No? Okay.
I'll just want to say thank you as well. I think one of the first things I experienced when I came to the district in 2015 was the parent book talk. And I believe they had the books up there. I think it was the book on, was it Malala?
It was. Lots of finest hours.
Right, and what I liked about it is it unified the students. And middle school is a tough age group to get all on the same page, and not just here in Marshfield, anywhere. Middle school kids, that age group there's a lot of things that are going on, and to have them focused on a theme, to have them come together, and to see as many kids that showed up to talk about it in the middle of the summer, I was just wow. I was awed by it, and to see the opening school, the first week or second week when you had the event, district's building-wide event, it created a different culture in the middle school that you don't always see, and it was a more accepting, a little less of the cattiness that you might see typically at that age group, and they were focused on something that they all had a chance to experience, and I really enjoyed it. I think that's one of the best parts about one book. I did it when I was a principal at Bridgewater Raynham, never to the extent of this. We just started it my last year there, and but you folks have really grown this program, and it's really a great opportunity for students and for their families to get involved. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the support.
Okay, moving on to our new business. We are looking at a policy update for social media. Mr. Granatino?
Yeah, this is a first read, and by no means I think this has to be vetted out a little bit more by our subcommittee, which is made up of Mr. Costello and Ms. Brake and myself. But we were getting some feedback from folks seeing student images. We have a acceptable use policy, and parents have the right to ask, or the forms that go out, and if they don't want to have their child on any of the pictures they might see on a school website or on my Twitter account, or things that are related to the school, they can sign off on that, and we steer clear of that. Every school knows what students might not want to have their images, or their families don't want their images posted, and we adhere to that. If there's ever a mistake made, we take it down right away and move forward. But what we've seen more of, and it's a good thing, bad thing, in the sense that some staff like to have pictures of events that are going on in school and share it on their own social media platform, and that's caused some concerns. And so we're trying to just tighten it up a little bit. I talked briefly with school council, and this is kind of a revision, kind of augmenting what's already in place for our acceptable use policy as far as student images on our websites, and obviously I think the main change would be to have some language in there ensuring that images of students, unless there's permission, are going to be on a personal website, which we want to steer clear of. Those, any images of our students should be on school-focused websites or on social media pages that are tied to the high school, tied to you see me taking pictures everywhere, and those go up on that portal. So there's some language here that's a little different than the current existing language for our acceptable use policy. It gives parents, again, the chance to ensure that their students, if they don't want to have their images shown, that they can do that. And then, again, more of a firm affirmation that these pictures should only be associated with school-based outlets and not personal outlets. And again, I just want you to take a look at it. The council was working on it a little bit before I came back, and then since then we had a brief conversation. And again, this is very similar to what some schools have in place as well. And I think our policy is good. It just continues to change though with time as there's more outlets for showing off the great things that are going on with our students. Sometimes it crosses paths with areas that, again, it's nothing nefarious, but if a parent doesn't want to have their child's picture up on a website or on a social media page related to the school, they definitely don't want to have it on a individual's own personal website as well, or own personal social media page. So I bring this forward in very rough form for you to take a look at. I think the best thing to do is, especially as we're wrapping up school, if there's questions, you can forward those questions to me, and I can share them with Ms. Brate and with Mr. Costello, and we'll get together prior to the July meeting and have, if there needs to be tweaked at all, we can do that, and your questions that you may have can be addressed before we bring it back for a final read.
That sounds good. Do you guys have any questions at this point?
Yeah, I guess I'm in agreement in principle, right? We need some language like this. What's the origin of this document?
Pardon?
What is the origin of the document?
There was some images of students that, again, not
No, not
the origin of,
the document. Where
oh,
did-
of the language, I'm sorry, from language with our school council.
Okay, can we chop some words out of it, though?
Yeah.
It just doesn't align with our other
That
policies.
was your number one goal every time we did anything with policy.
Yeah, I don't need to know, like, how cloudy it was outside and,
Gotcha.
it was a blustery day and all
Yep.
that stuff, right?
Less is
So,
more.
like, just, what's the point?
Feel free to send your recommendations our
I
way.
know what you mean. We had these, because when we looked at all the policies, 6, 7 years ago now.
Right, right.
We were trying to condense things a little bit,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
okay.
Sure.
Oh, thank you for turning that on. I don't know if it falls in this document or not, but I know some teachers use, I forget what they're called, like Evie's teacher uses a site called Homeroom, I think it's called, where she posts photos of like the day's events and what's happening, but only parents get invited to that site. Does that make sense? So it's not social media, but it's still like a online platform? I don't know. Just something I was thinking about as I was reading this.
And I think with permission, permission forms that would go out, if those parents were, even if it was something, enclosed as that is, just within that class, they still have the right to say, I prefer not to have my child's image
Yeah,
taken.
yeah.
I even have a couple of staff members who have asked not to have their images taken. So they would have the right to, in that type of setting. It's not something that's going out on a personal page that's going to be publicized to millions of people.
Yeah.
But even if it was for 20 kids in the class and
Yeah.
their families, if the family didn't want to have that picture taken, they'd be able to fill out the form that would be part of this policy.
Okay.
Okay, and it can be excluded from that. All right. But I brought it forward knowing sometimes we can do things in a fast fashion. This was not something we wanted to fast track. I wanted to throw it out to you, give you a little bit of the background, and then we can do a little digging over the summer before we have a final version ready for vote, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, I think we have a set of minutes to review from June 7th. Is that correct? Okay. Everybody just want to take a minute to look those over?
Probably should be assistant super.
Good catch, Mr. Greer. in favor? Aye. All right.
And if I might just add in one more thing, just informational. in
Go
nature.
right ahead,
I should have
sure.
said this at the beginning, I apologize.
Yeah, no
but,
problem.
While I was out, well, actually, it started before I went out, but we've been looking at our website, and those of you that have view our website often might find it a little bit clunky. When I came on board here, I think the website had just been changed to the Blackboard website that we have, and at that point in time, it was all, what's it, unicorns and show ponies or something. Everyone loved it. It was perfect. And
Rainbows.
rainbows, thank you. And it, over the course of the last 7 years, it has not changed the way many website platforms have changed over time. So we are actually going to be rolling out a new website this summer through Aptigee. They're a great organization. They've actually been reaching out to us for many, many years, and we've just kind of kept where we were with Blackboard, because we also use Blackboard for our massive communications that go out across the district. But Aptigee will allow us to do that as well. And Ms. Pazerski has been working with Mr. Cawthorn and other stakeholders from around the district, different schools, different tech folks, to put together a website that is going to be up and running in its infant stages this summer, probably by the time of our next meeting. So things are being switched over. Obviously, it's going to be reconfigured. It's going to be an ability to have almost an ongoing newsletter. Most of the schools, and myself included, send out newsletters at the end of the week or bi-weekly or once a month. And those types of communications will be able to stay on the website and be easily discernible, kind of quickly go back and forth and see what's going on, as well as the quick hit communications on dates and events coming up, and any quick changes. So we're excited about the format. It will be different. We'll be sending some information out to folks, but it's exciting. And I know Joni has been a driving force behind it, and I just want to thank her for her efforts. And the whole crew that's working on it have been working really hard, and these folks at Aptigee have been great. And we'll have some more information at our next meeting on it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Pazerski, for your hard work. Can't wait to see it. All right, it looks like we are all set. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Roll call.
Ms. Campbell, Mr. Greer, Ms. Boyd, Mrs. Brate, Mr. Costello.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.